Hi, this is Chase English.
And Sierra Mitchell.
We're interviewing Kathy English today on February 10th, 2016. Are you ready?
I am very ready.
All right. What is your full name?
My full name is Catherine Lynn English.
Okay. When were you born and where?
I was born June 20th, 1959. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri.
What was it like growing up in your neighborhood?
We had a great neighborhood. The neighborhood in St. Louis, we lived in a suburb of St. Louis called South County, and we lived at the top of a hill. It was a really cool place. They were just developing houses there, and we'd go down and we'd play Tarzan down in the places where they had the trees hanging down. It was just like we were kind of like out in the country. It was lots of fun.
Alrighty. And who were your parents?
My parents are Robert Buss and Patricia Lee Lobline Buss, and they both went to Washington University in St. Louis. That's where they met. My dad was in the Army. My mom was a journalism major. My dad was an engineer. He worked at Anheuser-Busch Brewing Company. He was an engineer there. I have siblings. My two siblings are, you might know her, it's Mrs. Kim Lashbrook. She was a teacher for first grade and fourth grade here in Marshall. My other sister, my younger sister, her name is Susan Diane Buss Anderson, and she's a nurse in the surgery department at Crawford Memorial Hospital in Robinson.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in St. Louis. I probably stayed there until I was about 11 years old.
Where did you go after that?
After that, we moved to Marshall, and my dad worked in a company. It's where the soccer field is now. It's at Velsicol, and Velsicol is not a company anymore. They've made a soccer field where that big factory was.
Okay. And what was the neighborhood kind of like when you were growing up?
Well, when I lived in St. Louis, like I said, it was a developing neighborhood, so I probably should have read my questions a little bit sooner. But in my neighborhood, we lived at the very top of a hill, and we had the best place to go sledding and everything on, because we lived in kind of a suburb away from traffic and things, and we'd go bike riding, and we had tons of neighbors around us and stuff. It was a great neighborhood to grow up in for kids.
What were like some of the daily chores you did, or did you have like a part-time job?
When I was a little kid, our only daily chore was to clean our rooms, and then we had to draw straws for who had to clean out the kitty litter pan, and that wasn't any fun, but that was the only chore really we had to do. Sometimes we helped with the dishes. And I did have a part-time job when I was in high school at Marshall, and I worked part-time I worked on the work program. I worked at a little craft boutique store. I learned how to arrange flowers. I learned how to make macrame necklaces. I did necklaces and things, and I got paid for it. It was really cool. And then when I was going to college, then I worked at Dairy Queen, and I learned how to make the curl on the ice cream cones.
It's not as easy as it looks.
No, it is not. We made a few mistakes. Did you make a few mistakes? I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, what were the meals kind of like when you were growing up?
Oh, my mom stayed at home, so she cooked, all three of our meals. She was really good about making sure that we ate all from all the food groups and everything like that. And my mom loved to look at recipe books and fix all kinds of neat, cool, different recipes. She'd just find something in a ladies' magazine and we'd have it the next day. So it was really cool. I mean, we'd have lobster, or we would have, artichokes, or just anything she wanted. We tried all kinds of foods.
What did you and your family enjoy doing?
Oh my goodness, we always went outside and did stuff. We did a lot of camping trips and stuff when we were on vacations. And my mom and dad, like I said, we were in St. Louis. One of the cool things we used to do is we used to go to these architectural like digs, and we dug up old Indian bones by Cahokia Mounds, those big burial mounds over there by St. Louis, and we got special permission since my mom and dad belonged to some society that we got to go into Indian burial grounds and help unearth Indian bones, and that was really cool.
Okay, and where did you attend school growing up?
Growing up, I went to a St. Louis school until 6th grade, and that's when I decided I was going to be a teacher because my 6th grade science teacher was so cool. He made his own telescope, and he taught me all kinds of stuff about science. He was just like a real cool teacher. I'm hoping I'm kind of like him right now. Then I moved to Marshall, and then I've been to Marshall Junior High, so I'm teaching in the same exact room that I went to school in, and I went to Marshall High School, so I know everything about Marshall High School too.
What are some memories that stand out to you as a child?
Oh my gosh, we did so many different things. Like I said, my mom and dad were really into culture, and we did all kinds of cool things. Gosh, we would do long vacations. We had one of those VW buses, you know, the ones that look like the hippie buses. We had a blue and white one, and my dad took the seats and turned them around and made it into a table, and we go vacationing all over the place. So probably our summer vacations were my best memories, and we lived at the top of the hill, and there were some boys that would build us an igloo at the top of our hill, and we'd go sledding all the way down this real tall, steep hill. So that was like fun. And like I said, we played Tarzan down in our suburbs where they hadn't built houses yet, so we'd hang on trees and do stuff like that.
Okay. What was like dating like back then? Like, did you have any cool places you'd go hang out?
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't date too many people, but I had a whole bunch of friends that we would go cruising around, and you know where Dairy Queen is now, and then there's a place that's kind of close to where the bank is here in Marshall, the one that's on Michigan, First Bank and Trust. Across from that was a Tasty Freeze. And so we would just drive around and around. We'd go around town, around the courthouse, down by Tasty Freeze, go around there, then go around Dairy Queen, and then we go back down to the courthouse. We just go around and around and just wave at our friends, and everybody just go cruising until somebody ran out of gas.
Sounds like about what they do now.
That's exactly right.
What were some of the fashion trends back
Oh
then?
my gosh, it was big time blue jeans, but we had big bell bottoms. I'm telling, the kind that they called was elephant ears, because they were such big bell bottoms. They looked like as big as ears of elephants. And we had straight hair back then. We used to wear fringe on our jeans. We would take embroidery and we'd embroider all of our clothes and stuff and draw names on them with embroidery thread and stuff like that. So we were pretty crafty.
Okay, when did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from high school in 1977.
Okay, and where did you attend college after that?
Then I went to Indiana State University, and I got my teaching degree. And I've been teaching here at the junior high since I got my teaching job. My degree is a bachelor's degree. It's a 4-year teaching degree.
Okay, did you have any minors or any cool things you studied?
No, I just mainly took general science, but I got like to take a whole bunch of neat science classes when I took those.
Did you have the opportunity to study abroad or anything like that?
I probably was too chicken to go by myself. No, seriously. So I probably just stayed home, and I drove back and forth to school. I didn't stay at the dorms or anything. I wanted to save my parents a little bit of money.
I gotcha. If you would have been able to, where would you go?
Oh my goodness. I would probably go to Paris, France.
Really?
I think that would be so cool. Yeah.
What is your family like? Do you have any kids?
I have 2 kids. I have an older son named Chad. He's 32. He's got 2 degrees, and he's going to college. He works at Sony, and he got an electricity degree. You're going to fix that. He got an electrical degree, and he also is going into sports management, so that's his second major, and he's in college getting his second major now, but he's working at Sony now. My daughter Courtney, she's 26, She just graduated from college just about a year ago. She's in her second job now, but she's into health education, and she'll be working with patients that will be being released from the hospital, and she will follow up on their aftercare, make sure that they take their medicine the right way and that they get their screenings and their checkups and things like that. So she's excited to start her new job.
Alrighty. What's your favorite part of teaching?
Working with the kids, and being a science teacher, I get to play with science toys all day long and get paid for it. I love that. I like it when kids get excited about learning things. And my second part probably would be I like my summers off so I can spend them with my kids.
Did you ever have a student that really impacted you?
Oh my goodness, I sure do. I have all kinds of like little things sitting around my room where kids have brought me things, and even though I'm just a physical science teacher, they bring me dead bugs, they bring me all kinds of things that we really don't teach about, but you know what? I go ahead and take about 15 minutes out of the class time just to talk about them and teach them anyway.
What are some historical events that stand out to you?
Oh my goodness. Probably that would be like the space shuttle. And I'll tell you what, when I was a little kid living in St. Louis, I remember sitting in my living room. We had one TV in the front room. It was black and white. And we would sit there and we would watch that. But I remember them landing on the moon, and that was so cool. And here's another thing too, since I lived in St. Louis, we could look out of our window in St. Louis and we saw them building the arch. That was pretty cool because we could see it on TV, and then we'd look out our window and we could actually see the cranes putting the big top pieces in the top part of the arch. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, and you're retiring this year. Do you have
I'm
any reason
retiring
why?
next year.
Next year? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And what am I going to do after retirement? You know, I'm not really sure. I've got a lot of crafty projects and things, and I would totally like to go traveling. And my husband's going to be retiring pretty soon, so he will be.
So you're retiring next year. What are your plans for afterwards?
Well, I am retiring next year. My husband is also retiring in October, and I'll retire in May. And we've got lots of different kinds of house remodeling kind of things to do, some minor adjustments and things. And then after that, I think I'm probably going to go on trips with my husband and stuff. And I plan on sleeping in and watching talk shows.
Do you have any specific places you want to go?
Oh, my husband loves to go any place where there's a beach. I like to go to places like museums and I like to go to the zoo. I love to look at the animals. I want to go to that, the cat sanctuaries in Center Point, Indiana. I just have lots of places to go.
Do you want to move away from Marshall?
No, we built our house in Marshall before I started teaching, and that's why I took a Marshall teaching job, because I always wanted to live in Marshall. And I came from St. Louis, a big town, and I like the small town living.
Alrighty, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.